Ani and G'day. My name is Adele Loosemore and I'm a Treaty Indian from Shebahonaning. In this video, I'll be talking about the Métis Nation of Ontario's description of the Mattawa Ottawa historic Métis community. In the fall of 2022, Canadian Geographic published an article written by the Métis Nation of Ontario called Rivers of Resistance. MNO and Canadian Geographic also issued this map, showing the locations of MNO's historic Métis communities. There's a historical summary of each one in those colored rectangles you see all around the map. Here's a close-up of the map insert, showing the location of the Mattawa Ottawa historic community, and beside it an image of MNO's summary. I added purple lines to the section of this summary that's dedicated to the fur trading companies and the fur trade posts. They built a post here, they built a post there, this company was started, these companies merged. Some people love fur trade history, and that's fine, but this is supposed to be a brief history of the Métis community. Instead, almost the entire summary is about the business interests of the settlers. In 2017, when the Ontario government and the Métis Nation of Ontario announced the creation of their historic Métis communities, they also released a joint fact sheet for each one. It was supposed to provide a brief history that illustrated some of the reasons it had been designated a historic Métis community. But the historical timeline in their fact sheet is mostly about the fur trade companies and the trading posts. The fur trade is reopened in 1761. The Northwest Company is created in 1784. It tells us how many people were employed at Fort Temiskaming in the late 1700s. And so on, right up to 1908, 1909, when the Hudson's Bay Company closed operations in Mattawa and moved to North Bay. This is probably why the summary in Canadian Geographic also focused on the fur trade. So I covered up the fur trade part of the summary, and what remains are these two sentences. Here's the first one. The 1901 census indicated that the Métis continued to live in close-knit groups in geographically specific parts of town. The town they're talking about is Mattawa. I think the part about being in geographically specific parts of town refers to the idea that Métis people lived as a separate group, either by choice or because they were shut out of other areas of the community. This image shows the town of Mattawa. I'm not sure what year it was taken. It's from the Mattawa Museum homepage. I took account of native versus non-native population in the 1901 census for Mattawa. The total population is 433 people. 37% was native and 63% was non-native. And native population includes full-blooded as well as mixed ancestry Indians. The only geographically specific information that I see in the Mattawa census involves the polling subdivisions. If you look in the center of this image, you can see that it's marked polling subdivision number 2. In their fact sheet, MNO and Ontario say that the Métis are almost entirely within one polling station. And I guess that's why the historical summary in Canadian Geographic says the Métis lived in geographically specific parts of town. But that's a misleading statement. Because even though all the mixed ancestry people are in one polling subdivision, most of the non-native people are in that division too. Subdivision 1 has the most diverse population: mixed ancestry natives, full-blooded natives, and non-native people. 89% of the population of Mattawa is in Division 1. 42% have native ancestry, while 58% have no native ancestry. That's pretty close to a 50-50 split. Polling Subdivision 2 has a smaller group of only non-native people, which represent 11% of the population of Mattawa. So if anyone is living in a geographically specific part of town, I would say this group of 49 non-native people are the ones who are separate from the main population. Let's go back now to MNO's summary. The last sentence says, many Mattawa Métis were listed as accredited guides in the 1905 issue of Rod and Gun in Canada magazine. Again, the focus is on the town of Mattawa, and I suppose they're highlighting guides because they believe it shows that in 1905, the Métis still had expertise traveling the waters. They're trying to make that link to the voyageurs of old. But the statement is not accurate. It was not a list of accredited guides. Here's a screenshot of the images that are in one of MNO's documents. The title page says Rod and Gun and Motorsports in Canada, Volume 7, June 1905 to May 1906. And the list of guides is in the image on the right. I'm going to enlarge the paragraph that's above that list. Here's what it says. We give below our first list of guides and trust in future to make this a valuable feature of the magazine. It is our intention to eliminate from this list the name of any guide whose name may be accidentally inserted and who may prove untrustworthy, and to admit to it only the names of those men who are of proved integrity, thus making a worthy ambition on the part of any man to have his name registered in our list, etc., etc. So, no, the men listed here cannot be described as accredited guides. This is just the starting point. It's a general list of guides that will be amended from time to time by dropping out or leaving out those guides who don't live up to the magazine's standards. In this summary, there's fur trade history, a note about the arrival of the settlers, and misleading statements about the 1901 census and the guides in Mattawa in 1905. Where's the Métis history in this description of the Mattawa Ottawa historic Métis community?